So the first question is, to what extent are we going to win this revolution in terms of decentralization?
Yeah, that's a great question. First, I'm going to answer it, and then I'm going to go back and explain it. So we do win, all right?
Okay.
We will win. We do win. History tells us that. Now, we'll go back and set that up. So kind of to the point that you're making, you're absolutely right. And that is about the social credit score system, the CBDCs, et cetera, and about the narrative. So what do I mean by that? Back to the 1500s, right? The church had a complete monopoly on information, and they told people that you had to buy your salvation and you had to do these things for the church and all these things. But when people got the information, they said, wait a minute, you're lying to us. This is not how it goes. And the church, anyone who would read that or speak out on it was labeled a heretic. You probably heard that word, heresy, and they were killed, right? But it didn't matter. Didn't matter how hard they tried to squeeze. It didn't matter how many people they killed. The information was out. The technology changed it. They lost their grip. Today, we're in the same situation where they've realized this peak centralization, WF, IMF, et cetera. They've realized that they have lost the narrative, to your point. Like I said, Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, they're getting 100 times more views than any other of their sources. And just like the printing press, the internet has disrupted their grip. Now, I think what they've done is they've realized, like, shoot, we're losing this. We need to crack down now. We need to get this final piece put in place, or we're going to lose all control. And we're going to kill people to do it. Now, not killing people like in the Protestant Reformation, but killing people as far as deplatforming them, assassinating their character, cancel culture, et cetera. And so I think what we're seeing is that was the race that I was alluding to. The race is, can they install a social credit score system in place, which would include a CBDC, right? It would include a global ID. Can they install that before enough people wake up and push back and overthrow that? And so that's really the race. I made the statement that we win, and I'll kind of explain that. But they are trying their best to control the narrative. Like I said, we think whatever they want us to think. If they want us to think that COVID's the big thing, it is. If they want us to think that Canada is, and now it's Ukraine is the thing. But really, it's the race to get that. And so I was thinking that this was all coming to a head. Remember, these 3 cycles are converging. I haven't talked about the other 2, the technological and the financial, but it's all coming to a head right around 2025. And I was thinking it's really like, 2024 to 2026 range.
Okay.
And so I was thinking that's the time. Now, what's interesting about that is that the central bank digital currencies are not ready. Right. So China has rolled theirs out. China's rolled theirs out, but the US Fed doesn't have theirs. The ECB doesn't have theirs yet. But we know that the Fed's working on it pretty fast, right? We know that they've been working on it for about a year and a half. We know that they just opened it up to comments about like a month ago. So it's coming along pretty quick. I'm guessing there's another 12 to 24 months before it's ready to roll out. And this whole social credit score system doesn't really work until they get that CBDC. It's kind of like that last piece they need in there. And so I think if you understand that, or I should not understand it, but maybe kind of see what I'm going with this. That's the goal. If I was like herding cattle or sheep across the countryside, for example, my goal is to move these sheep across the countryside and get them into a pen over here at the end. But, I have a lot of land to cover. And so I have to kind of push them here, and I have to kind of push them here, and I have to kind of push them here. And so over here is the push from the virus. And over here is the push from the protest. And over here is the push on the cyber pandemic, right? And each one of these is pushing us to the ultimate goal, which is the social credit score system. So none of these pieces, the vaccine passport, none of those pieces are the ultimate goal. It's one push to get us to the ultimate goal, which is the social credit score system. And it all hinges on that CBDC. Without freedom to transact, there is no freedom, period. So I have the right in the United States. I have the freedom. The First Amendment guarantees me the right to assemble, to go protest or whatever. Well, if I don't have money to put gas in my car to drive to the assembly or buy a bus ticket to go to the assembly, I have no freedom. I have freedom of speech. Well, if I have no money to buy a computer to post online or print a pamphlet or build a website, I have no freedom of speech. I have the freedom of religion. Well, if my church can't afford to pay a payment on a building or can't pay their staff, there's no freedom of religion. So there is no freedom without the freedom of payments. And that's what the CBD, that's where they come in, if that makes sense. And so I think what they've realized over the last 2 years, they're losing their grip, and they had to do something. They needed to really escalate this, speed this up to try to hang on to that grip. The problem is the more they squeeze, the more people push back. Newton's third law says in physics is each force has an equal and opposite reaction. So the more they squeeze, the more people push back. But the more people push back, the more they squeeze. The more they squeeze, the more people push back. And now we're at this situation where it's escalated to the point where they're literally kicking people out of the financial system and forcing people to go build a parallel society, which is a whole nother topic.
But the thing with Russia does confuse me, because